What's going on, everyone? We are back to break down each episode of Lalomanu season number 2, and we are joined once again by Robbie for the recaps this season. Also, my great co-host McKenna Feeney is with us. Robbie's going to be doing the recaps for all the episodes, and then also we are going to be having Denny do the X interviews with every single castaway that is voted off this season. Robbie, we started off episode number 1 with a bang, I feel. Great cast. How are you feeling it went?
I'm excited. I'm excited that it's back. I'm excited that we have more content to talk about. And I mean, these minis are getting better and better. We saw from season 1 to season 2, the improvement in just, the energy, the casting and just the way people are working right off the bat and getting going. I'm excited for it. And we start off this season with 14 folks that are playing. We have 2 tribes. We've got the Pasea tribe and the Tapua tribe, not the Tapau tribe. Sorry, I keep joking about that. I can't help myself. You might hear that a few times, but it's the Tapua tribe. So yes. The Pasea tribe is, we got Morgan, Jackie, Brittley, Greg, Shea, Bob, and Shawn. Yep. And on the Tapua tribe, we've got Anthony, Eli, Dylan, Kyle, Serena, Carlo, and Nikki. And yes, I had to read that because I'm still learning everybody.
Okay.
I haven't met everybody yet. I've played with a few of these folks, and I might know some other people personally.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you guys change everything right off the bat with a new rule that I'm very excited about, and that is that a tie vote goes immediately to rocks, and everybody kind of shrugs that off, like okay, but that's massive, right? That's huge, right? Because how many times does somebody have an idol or an advantage of some sort? And the people with the numbers say, listen, guys, let's go in. We'll split the numbers, 3 votes here, 3 votes there. You put, half the votes on the person with the advantage, half the votes on a safe person. And if they don't use their advantage, it's a tie and you re-vote and send the person with the idol home. Or if they use their idol, the safe vote goes home. Yeah, and this, you can't do that. You can't do that, which means there's a chance that somebody with power of some sort is going to have a free pass if someone is afraid of tying on the first go, especially if you're in the majority. Yeah. And I can't wait to see if that causes some havoc this season, because that's huge.
I'll give you an inside tip. It wasn't to make this season a little bit more crazy or chaotic. It was strictly because we had so many ties in season 1. We're like, this is so time consuming to have them go back to the breakout room, come revote. And it's just like, just for it to be tied again, or, we were like, no. We want to get things going, and just ties go to rocks. Sorry, not sorry.
Well, and it's also interesting because, you're bang on. That's the moral of the story with these is you want to get as much gameplay in as you can, as fast as you can, without the delays, like you said, in the revotes and in issues, technical issues or whatever. Mm-hmm. But from a gameplay perspective, the other thing I'm really excited about is if you're outnumbered in this season and you're against, a larger alliance, obviously, if you're outnumbered, you can try to manipulate the vote into a tie, even if that means voting somebody in your alliance, or voting, like if I'm working with one person against 5, I might vote against that one person on purpose to cause a tie, to force the majority to go to rocks. You know what I mean? Things like that are just, people who love gameplay are going to love that twist, because it adds a lot to that.
Yeah, a bunch of different strategy can be taking place in this season. I'm a big fan of no ties. I'm glad that everyone was on board for us to put this in as a piece of production. I think it leads up to a lot of different scenarios, such as what you said, because people might think, all right, well, if this is a tie, I don't want it to be a tie because then I might go home. So they might flip their vote and they didn't need to flip their vote. Exactly. It's a mind game.
And that might cause a tie. You know what I mean? Like we saw that in season 1 when Karen and Phil flipped their votes on a Ryan vote, where it would have, like, they were both trying to break the tie and it caused a tie, right? So I'm excited about that. But we roll right into the immunity challenge, which is Bet on It, I think was the name of it, Bet on It. And each of the 2 tribes got 70 peaches. So in theory, 10 per person. There's 7 players on each tribe. And they have to try to get 4 points. And the way you get a point is by betting more peaches than the opposing tribe. This is similar to other challenges that we've seen in the past, except for it looks like there was only one strategy round. Is that true? Where they only had one time to strategize, to write down their notes, and then bang, 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 they all had to go
on your
one
own after that, because the rule was once it started, you could not talk to anyone on your tribe. Also, we would never tell them how many more peaches each tribe had. So you're on your own to keep your own math.
Yeah. So I had the Tapua tribe in a breakout, and Lauren had the Pasea tribe, and they had, I think, very different strategies going in. Tapua was just like, all right, we're gonna set an order and set our numbers now. Like, we're just gonna go with that. We're not gonna like really assess and see if we need to gain a point or lose or anything like that. They were like, all right, so Serena's betting this number, Eli's betting this number, and they stuck with that and came up with the win.
Yeah, and you see right off the bat, like you were mentioning, right? Like Tapua pulls off the victory, and not only that, but they came off with the first 2 points, which puts the pressure on Pasea, and that's the tribe that has flexibility in their numbers. So having pressure and flexibility is kind of dangerous, because now what do you do, right? And you see Jackie hammers one of the bets at, I think, 25. She bets
25,
right? Which is a huge number. And then you get down to the kind of, for this episode, the infamous Bob bet, where Bob seemed to lose track a little bit on how many peaches have been bet at that point. And maybe he was thinking it was going to be similar to other challenges where you have a break in between each round and then can get some guidance or some teamwork towards what to do. But regardless, Bob ends up betting, I think it was 8. And Carlo bets 15. Carlo gets the point and Tapua wins. But rewatching this scene once again, I think Carlo should have been DQ'd on this one, because you see Bob holds up his 8. Carlo looks down, looks up, looks down.
Production inside, we make them always DM us their peach answer before they hold up the sign.
Perfect.
The sign's already locked in.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, because
was mainly for like viewer amount, but we wanted to make sure that none of what you just said happened where they were like, oh, this is my answer.
Yeah, and so it's locked in beforehand, and then I would just say reveal, so then that way everyone on the tribe could see it, so then they could do the math themselves.
Yeah, and for the audience, when I was watching that, I had to watch it about 4 times, and I eventually timed it, and he had 6 seconds after Bob had showed his bet, and then he said, oh, I forgot to write it down. And now the way that you guys are describing that, it makes sense, because he just forgot to put it on paper. Right. He already knew that he sent it to you. So, but as a viewer, when you see, oh, I forgot to write my bet, and he writes down 15, which is more than what he sees. But regardless of that, even if that would have gone, with what you see as a DQ, Tapua still had more left in the final round and still would have won. Anyway, it was like 15-12, I think was the remainder. It didn't matter. Carlo came out with the victory for his team, and Tapua wins, sending Pasea to tribal for the first time, which is always fun. And we flow right from that to the happy tribe, right? We see some confessionals from Eli, Nikki, right away, saying how happy they are. The tribe's great. They love everybody. Well, of course you do. You just won. You don't have to be stressed, right? And then you see the group. You get pretty much everybody together except for the folks that are out doing confessionals. And they're talking about, Carlo had posted apparently in the open group chat during the challenge prep breakout room that he wanted to look under an urn. And you can tell based on what everybody else says that he must have sent, likely McKenna, a note that says, can I have the idol or the clue, based on some hint that he had. And he was told, I looked in the urn and it was empty. So then he said, can you look under the urn? But that reply was to everybody. And honestly, I think it helps him, because everybody else who didn't get it trusts him now that he also doesn't have it. Right.
So my name was changed to Zoom DM for clue, as well as Lauren's in the other breakout room. And I'm not sure if he made a direct confessional about it, but this episode, Dylan has our idol.
Okay, so that's not announced yet in this.
Yeah, because I don't think he he had gotten to make a direct confessional, but he finds it this round, and so he got it, and then Carlo and Nikki send me answers being like, ooh, I want a clue because I see your name change, and I told them, sorry, the urn is empty. And so Carlo's now messaging me like repeatedly saying like, check under the urn. Is it next to the urn? I'm like, sorry, no dice. And he's like, does the challenge involve dice? And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
Carlo,
no.
you don't have the clue.
Yeah. But Lauren, you can relate. You can relate. You know what I mean? When you played, you sent countless requests and guesses. So, you know, we've all been there. Anybody who's played, you're like, listen, I will take every chance I can to try to get an advantage. But it's interesting you say that, McKenna, because when Serena gets in the room and people are kind of confused about what's going on, and innocently as can be, she's like, are there even idols in this game or something like that? And Dylan is one of the first people who speaks up and says, yeah, I assume so, or something like that. Like, I'm pretty sure there would be, which is hilarious because at that point he has it.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're watching the episode, if you were going to pick who you thought would have it, Anthony sits there quietly the whole time until like the end of the group, and you're the end of that little confessional, and doesn't say anything until the very end. He's like, yeah, someone has it. I don't have it. And I'm like, oh man, that looks so suspicious. But but yeah, so then we leave that happy-go-lucky team and we jump over to Pasea, and they just lost, and they're not really worried about idols and clues at the moment. They're worried about what just went wrong. How do we survive, improve our tribe, and move forward? And you see Shea right off the bat says, you know, I didn't want to come off as a leader. I knew our strategy was bad, but instead of putting a target on my back and trying to have a better strategy, I accepted what the group wanted to do, which is kind of risky, but interesting because you put yourself at risk by accepting a losing strategy, but you don't put a target on your back. So, you know, it's kind of six in one hand, half dozen in the other.
Yeah, I think at that point he felt decently comfortable with the read that he had on people. So, I mean, it is a good strategy if you are someone that's outspoken and like kind of tries to guide the tribe and you are wrong, then that puts a target on your back. So say he would have stepped up and they still would have lost, then eyes would have been on him.
Yeah, exactly. And you see Brittley pretty much says the same thing about how, you know, it's disappointing to see Bob got confused a little bit, didn't understand what was going on. Bob did have a hard time in the challenge, obviously, but regardless, you know, they would have lost even if Bob had bet all of their peaches. They would have been tied 3-3 and then lost in the 7th round anyway, which, you know, you see Shawn comes on, does a quick confessional. Nobody's mentioning Bob in a positive way. Shawn says, you know, I'm aligned with Morgan, Shea, and Jackie. And that's backed up by Jackie coming on and saying pretty much the exact same thing, Shea, Morgan, and Shawn, and that she's trying to play in the middle and kind of stay in the background a little bit. And then we get the best confessional so far, and that is of Morgan. Unbelievable confessional because,
oh my gosh, this was nuts.
Yeah. She starts the game like the veteran she is and living up to the draft pick that we see in the preseason draft that you guys did for a winner pick. And she sees your guys' initials, all the production team, and puts it together, gets a legacy advantage. And then using the same strategy of reading your guys' names, sees Lauren's name change in the breakout room, once again grabs another clue, which she gets an immunity idol from. So she has an immunity idol, and she has a second one that's good at final 6, I believe, only at final 6.
Legacy. It's the legacy. Yeah. So all the majority of the production members, excluding Lauren and myself, had a letter for legacy, and I think Dan's was a dummy letter.
Yes, Dan's was the only dummy letter.
And
okay, so like just to confuse it a little bit.
Yeah, just to throw it off a little bit. So she, like, within the first couple seconds, it was minutes. I don't think minutes had gone by because we were waiting for someone to connect, and Morgan just is like and messages. It was instantaneous.
And that's crazy, right? Because that shows the advantage you get when you play these things over and over. And I'm not sure how many Morgan's played. I know she's played, you know, at least a long game.
Just
This is number 2.
Right. So just from playing the long game, you know, she's already coming in with the strategy of, I got to read everything that's sent to me. I got to look at everything that's in front of me and find clues immediately. And it's paying off. Right. And we slide right into tribal council. And I found this a little ironic because Shea says, I didn't want to put a target on my back. I didn't want to point out how bad the strategy was. And then the first thing he says at tribal is, yeah, the strategy was really bad. And we got to do better at strategizing. But you know, it is what it is. He plays it off pretty good. It's just, I got a good laugh out of that. How 1 second he's saying, I don't want to mention how bad the strategy was in front of people. And then in front of everybody, yeah, we were not planning properly, which, you know, you see Morgan in a minute after that has the best, you know, tribal council answer ever. Upbeat, happy, you know, energetic, just shows kind of loyalty to the tribe, then throws Jackie and Greg's name under the bus, and then goes back to being happy again. Cause she mentions like, you know, Jackie and Greg kind of said that they wanted to do the 0 vote and things like that, but we all worked together. There's one voice, and it was beautiful. It was like the whole compliment, insult, compliment thing. It was like a sandwich of no one really catches it, but you heard Jackie and Greg's name. Right.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, we pretty much have a pretty generic tribal council. Nothing too flashy happens. Bob, unfortunately, asks people to vote for himself, and he had lost his internet, I guess, and I guess he got his internet back. And at that point too, the writing was on the wall. Everybody was looking for an easy vote. You know, it's the first tribal, and once again, as viewers, when you're watching this, we have a lot of time to think about it. Right? The episode's 20 minutes long, half hour, whatever. They have minutes. Right? They did the challenge. They just met each other. They get into breakout rooms. Someone says a name and it's not yours. You're like, yep, let's do it. Right? So Bob was out of luck at that point, especially when he told Shawn, vote for me. And
Shawn was just like,
that's it.
Huh? And then left.
Yeah, he was just gone. I mean, I tried to I said at tribal council, like, hey, are you gonna fight to stay in this game?
Yeah.
You know, I want to see some shit stir up at tribal. I love it.
Yeah. And you know what, if I think if Bob had more time and maybe some allies that were willing to really grab onto him, and you see Shawn, he kind of seemed like he wanted to work with Bob. Maybe he felt like he could use Bob a little bit in, you know, Bob's being a little more passive, a little quieter. Maybe Shawn wants to work with people like that, and he seemed like he was trying to work with Bob. But if somebody would have just mentioned the math, where if Bob would have just said, listen guys, yeah, I screwed up the bet, but it didn't matter. At that point, even if I bet all of them but one, we had lost. And you know, you can't put the loss on me. You can put my internet connection on me. I fixed it, but that's, you know, the loss isn't on me. The loss is on the 3 points we already gave away, right? Yeah. And I think he could have taken some of the weight off him, but once that target was there and there was no rebuttal, I mean, it's an easy vote for everybody else.
Lauren, do you remember what exactly their strategy was going into that? Of like, did they have anything set beforehand?
So everything they bet prior to Jackie going was exactly what they wanted to bet.
And then was Jackie supposed to bet something else, but since they had a certain amount of points lost?
So she was not going to bet 25. So remember, I think we might have edited this out. Jackie had a very long pause because she was trying to figure out and do the math in her head on what she had to bet to give them a chance. So everything that was bet prior to Jackie was the course and what they wanted to do for the challenge. But then when it got to her, she knew, oh crap, we have to win this point. So I know she very much so overbetted with 25. She did not need to say that much.
Which I think she only bet against 3.
It was a very low number.
It was like so or something. Yeah, where it was like really low. My tribe was just like, let's lowball this one. And
yeah, I have it here. Eli bet 3 and Jackie bet 25.
Yeah.
And really she threw Bob under the bus right there because there's nothing Bob can do. I think who's left? Morgan hasn't gone at that point.
Right.
Correct.
So
it was Bob then Morgan. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that was the strategy, they should have had Morgan go 6th and then Bob would be whatever's left. Right? If they had a fear that Bob might not, keep up with the math.
Morgan's a math teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. But woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? Every time you play one of these things, you leave and you think, oh, if I just would have bet 10 instead of 25, it would have had 15 more and we could have done this and coulda, woulda, coulda. But they didn't. and that's part of the pressure, right? You don't have time, and that's it. And Bob goes home, and I think the only other notable that I want to get out there is that in this tribal, Shawn outs himself from as a player of 200 or more of these online games, and that he's only won twice, but he's played hundreds of these games.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting strategy.
He says that, and then he calls out people who are like, who have never done any of this before.
Yeah,
And
Brittley and Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of those people, like, who have never done anything like this before, we had as friends and brought into this game. So Jeremy brought Brittley in, John brought Greg in, and they were outside friends who like Survivor as well and wanted to play and like had never heard of anything of this like before. So it's very possible that people who don't have any org experience can be involved. They have to start somewhere. Like he had his first game somewhere.
Well, we saw that in season 1, right? Look at Austin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Like and if you were going to pick somebody who's related to other people, you think Austin would have had played before just because of his brothers and how much they played. But nevertheless, Bob goes home and Pasilla is down.
They're down a member, but yeah, I mean, I think we hit it all on episode number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I got. Good start. Okay. Fantastic start. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what comes and what happens next.
All right. Well, that wraps us up for episode number 1 recap. Be sure we're going to be bringing on the first eliminated player, which is Bob. Bob's going to be talking with us about his game and why everything went so poorly. All right, now we have Bob here joining us, first person voted out of the season. Not the best thing to get voted out first, but it does happen. Bob, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So you had a little internet trouble. That's why your tribe decided to vote you out. Unfortunate that happened, but you guys did lose that first immunity challenge, and you were supposed to keep track of those peaches, but unfortunately for you had to ask and see if your tribe could help you out, but unfortunately that wasn't part of the rules. Did you guys have a game plan going into that challenge specifically, like to have a set number each round, or were you kind of going to play it off of what the other tribe did?
No, I don't know anybody's name that was on my tribe, but the younger girl was before me, and then me. We were supposed to just kind of decide what to do, but the first 4 people had a plan, a set number.
Got it.
I want to start from the beginning. Bob, what made you sign up for this mini to begin with?
Somebody asked me to play.
And you were like, yeah, sure, or did you need time to think about it?
I tried to talk myself out of it, but it was Cameron Church. Cameron Church, really wanted me to play. Probably because I'm funny, I guess.
Got it. So we didn't hear much from you during this episode. You seemed kind of quiet. I know you said you had internet issues. I want to know, was it really the internet issues, or was it just like you feeling like you're out of your element?
Definitely out of my element, but I mean, obviously you can see I left the Zoom. I wasn't even in the Zoom. That's why I didn't know. Lauren said you couldn't ask, about the amount of. I knew how many we had. I just couldn't see when they held it up. I couldn't see one of their numbers, and I didn't know how many they picked.
So I do want to know initial thoughts. You get in to the season, you see who's on the cast and everything. Who did you want to work with right off the bat, whether they were on your tribe that you ended up with or someone that was on the other tribe?
Well, you want me to be obvious, or is it a secret?
Oh, yeah. No secrets.
Well, if I could have made it to the merge, playing with my daughter would have been fun. And the only other person I knew was Robbie's wife.
Mm-hmm.
We
Okay.
played on game nights a lot. And then Carlo popped in, but I just met Carlo.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was screwed as soon as I saw that none of my friends were there.
So, like you said, your daughter Nikki was in the game.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, if she had been on your tribe, would you have fought more to stay in the game?
I mean, I didn't think it was fair for anybody else to be voted out because I lost my internet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't want to fight over it because they might have been really looking forward to it. I don't want somebody to get voted out.
Brittley posted a comment on our Facebook page saying, like, did you have a strategy going into the mini, or were you just kind of like a go with the flow and see what happens?
Well, I've got so many friends in these groups now that I was hoping somebody I knew would be there, but I still don't know who people were that were on my team.
Yeah, that's we made it tough on everyone, especially this season. We were trying to make sure there wasn't that many pre-existing relationships, so mostly everyone was pretty stunned with who was on the cast.
Yeah, and if there were pre-existing relationships, we put them on other tribes, on opposite tribes, like we had with yourself and Nikki. And if they happened to make the merge together, then they made the merge together, but they only have that one other person. They don't have 7 other people where there's your majority. So
I thought you guys were trying to be sneaky and making like a blood versus water thing. Cameron was so insistent that I play too. I said, he must be doing a blood versus water or something.
So at Tribal Council, you said that your internet was working again. And Lauren said to make your pitch to stay in the game, and you didn't make one. So had you pretty much just given up at that point, or?
No, I just felt bad. I didn't think it'd be fair for somebody else to go home because I didn't hear the rules or whatever. Even though I did disagree with picking 0 peaches after we already lost 1. That's basically giving it up right there. And then we picked 2 peaches. Then 2 rounds later, so we were dead in the water.
All right, describe your game in 1 word.
Suck.
And you said at the very end in your final words, you said, maybe someday I'll be back. Will you really?
I was
made for a great exit speech.
There is something in the works with Frank. Maybe we'll play just like a group thing of friends, just for fun. But
totally understandable.
This is a young person's game with the phones and everything. I don't like to fuck with my phone.
Hey, there was no phones in our game. You had to go into scramble rooms, so no use of technology there.
Yeah, I was at Nicole's house watching the rest of it after.
Yeah, I heard you made an appearance. Yeah. And that's when people were like, wait a minute here.
I think Denny's got somebody in the game too that she knows.
I don't know.
Probably knows half the cast, all right? Denny knows everybody.
She was there too.
I don't.
All right, Bob, you have anything else that you want to add?
Thanks for letting me play.
Well, thank you for playing. We just want to remind you guys watching, please join our Facebook group. That's where you can comment on our posts of our episodes and comment along with the people there, your thoughts and feelings, as well as reply to get your questions heard when we ask someone on their exit interview, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Lauren?
All right.
That's it, you guys. Thanks so much for joining us with Bob here tonight. Thank you again, Bob, for playing.
Thanks, Bob.
Get better, Lauren.
Thank you.